Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are starting a new series, or for me, restarting, because I'm going to be honest with you, I actually started recording this first video of this new series and I didn't like it, so I deleted it and I'm starting over. So this new series that we're doing is another Tsukishima from Haikyuu, and this one is called Soap Bubble by Artistfingers. It is part of a two-part series. The second part is called Surface Tension, and I will be recording that one in the future. So if you like this one, which is Soap Bubble, I will be recording the other part. So just so you're aware, you can keep an eye out for it in the future. This fic is a T-rated fic with no archive warnings. Like I already said, it is Haikyuu, and the relationship in this one are Hinata Shouyou and Tsukishima K, and platonically we have Kageyama Tobio and Tsukishima K and Yamaguchi Tadashi. The four main characters in this fic are Tsukishima K, Hinata Shouyou, Kageyama Tobio, and Yamaguchi Tadashi, and I am going to tell you guys now, I think this is one of the reasons why I didn't like it. I was trying to give voices to every single character on the Karasuno team, and I hated it. So I'm probably only going to voice those four characters so that I don't confuse myself with too many voices, because it's not like My Hero. I can't remember the voices that I give for all of them. The additional tags are Karasuno Team Freeform, Second Year, Training Camp, Post-Canon, Pre-Relationship, Pining, Underage Drinking, First Kiss, Flirting, Confessions, and Making Out. This fic is 4 chapters and it will be recorded in 4 videos, and the word count for it is 36,372. Here is the summary. Kageyama's gaze burns into the side of Kei's face. He abruptly realizes he failed to not smile while looking at Hinata for who knows how long. He thumbs it off his face and manages a scowl. What? Kageyama squints like he wants to say something, processing the way he does when he's starting to finally grasp the pre-calc Kei has been lecturing him for the last 40 minutes. Was that banter? He asks. Do you and Hinata banter? Golden Week training camp is a bit different the second time around. Alright, here is chapter 1 of Soap Bubble by Artistfingers. Golden Week training camp kicks off with an announcement. It's time for you boys to start pulling your weight around here, Ukai says. So, we're doing something a little different during camp this week. The team choruses a collective groan. Ukai raises his voice. It echoes off the high-vaulted ceiling of the gym. Come on, up you get! We're drawing lots. Beside him, Takeda-sensei brandishes a bowl, grinning like he's been waiting for this very moment. Kei doesn't move. Maybe he should be more apprehensive. Clearly, their coach and teacher have devised some kind of scheme, but Takeda-sensei is still too baby-faced to feel like a threat next to the coach, who himself is more bluster than anything. Besides, Ukai's smirk can, and has, gotten a lot meaner than the one he's currently wearing. Hinata's the first up front. He eagerly digs around for his lot, quickly followed by Nishinoya, Tanaka, and a few curious, noisy first years. Hinata checks his paper. His hand shoots into the air. 5! I've got 2. Tanaka shouts. Nishinoya crows over receiving the number 1. 7 a.m. is too early for their level of unbridled enthusiasm. Disgusting. Kei pushes himself to his feet to follow at a more sedate, reasonable pace. He hangs back, just beyond the crush of the crowd. But Hinata stays rooted in front of him, head tilting to the side as he studies his given number. Sensei, what's this for? Takeda plants his hands on his hips. Dish duty. Oi, shrimp. Kei mutters, as close to Hinata as he dares. Out of the way. Hinata doesn't startle like he used to when Kei snuck up on him. He twists his head around and sticks his tongue out. Go around! Kei scoffs. It's not cute. It's not. Hinata huffs and steps aside just enough that Kei can get by without brushing against anyone. He takes one of the last slips from Takeda's bowl and retreats again. What do the numbers have to do with dishes? Nishinoya is asking. They're days, Takeda says. 1 through 5 for each day of the camp. Yup, don't forget your day, Ukai says. You'll be cleaning up that night before bed. You won't be responsible for breakfast and lunch, and snacks are provided by Sakanoshida. The team choruses a thank you, Kei muttering along. And small stuff like plates and utensils will be washed after each meal by us two and Yachi-san. But on your day, you and your partners will be responsible for the kitchen, pots and pans, serving dishes, and the like. We've got an even number of boys and an odd number of days, so there's 1 group of 2 and 4 groups of 3, Takeda adds. Did everybody get a slip? Everyone confirms, and Ukai nods. You've got 5 minutes. Find your partners, then get warmed up. Dismissed. Around Kei, the team breaks into a clamor. Voices calling numbers, whispers of swapping are quietly cut off by Ukai bellowing, "No trading!" Rather than joining in, Kei listens as Enoshida lands with Nishinoya. They find one of the first years, Ishii, and lament over being the sacrificial lambs. Hinata links up with Kanoshida, trading high fives. Tadashi pops up beside him, rocking on his heels. It looks like I'm with Tanaka tomorrow. I don't know who else yet. What did you get, Suki? He unfolds his slip and checks it. 3. Who are you with? Kei shrugs. Above the bustling heads and shoulders of their teammates, Kei meets eyes with Kageyama. Kageyama holds up 3 fingers. Time passes. Hour 72 and Kei is ready to strangle something the next time a volleyball flies at his face from a first year's botched receive. He mutters as much to Tadashi on the sidelines and gets a gusty sigh in response. They're just a little rough around the edges, he says. We were a little spoiled last year with how quickly everything came together. Yamamoto acts like he's never touched a volleyball before this term. He looks like it's going to bite him. Don't be mean. Tadashi swats him on the arm. Moto-kun is working really hard. Kei swats Tadashi back. He's worse than Hinata was. I don't know. Tadashi side-eyes him. I think his aim is all right. If he's aiming for my nose. And? Tadashi asks plainly. I prefer my nose unbroken. Tadashi tilts his head and strokes his chin. He scoots closer and hums a second time. Without bothering to invest much energy in it, Kei asks, What are you doing? Picturing you with a broken nose, Tadashi replies. You know, I think you'd look rugged. Rugged? Kei asks. Would that really fit my image? Not at all. Maybe you should be on my side about Yamamoto then. Approaching footsteps draw their gazes. Kageyama is looping over from the direction of Saito, their first-year setter, who's now entrenched in a discussion with Ukai. You'd better not be slacking off, Kageyama says. We're playing Kesanaiki Nishi in a few days. Suki? Slacking off? Never. Tadashi mocks offense on Kei's behalf, one hand falling to his chest as if to keep his heart in. Kei rolls his eyes. Kesanaiki Nishi doesn't intimidate me. Well, we've never played them before, Tadashi points out. What if they're really good? They're pretty good. They played Shiratorizawa at the Inter-High semifinals last year. Kageyama says, that doesn't seem to comfort Tadashi, who grimaces. They made it to the Inter-High semifinals? Kageyama nods. It'll be a good match. He pauses to shift a glare in Kei's direction, as long as we don't have slackers. They lost to Shiratorizawa. Kei feels compelled to point out, even if their chances of winning on Friday are dismal, who we beat. But everyone loses to Shiratorizawa. That doesn't mean anything, Tadashi says. Tadashi's fretting now. Great, just what they need. Not everyone. Kageyama insists. Not us. It could be us, Tadashi mutters. Not us. Kageyama repeats. You should be less worried about whether or not we're slacking off, King, and more about what we're doing with the first years. Kei says. They'd been broken into small knots to practice their respective skill sets for the last hour. Kei had ducked out to avoid the first years specifically. He only has so much patience, and they were trying it like an Olympic sport. Across the gym, they're still at it. Iguchi, Ishii, and Kase are running blocks with Narita, who keeps tossing wry glances at Kei. Kei is mostly pretending not to see, but he did flip Narita off once and received double in return, so he figures it'll all come out in the wash soon. They have 5 new players this year, but of the lot, only a few had any significant experience. Sure, on the whole, they're decent, but as loath that he is to admit it, Kei had hoped for more. Kageyama grunts. Yeah, whatever. He swipes his water bottle from the floor and invites himself to slack off with them. How's Saito-kun doing? Tadashi asks, nudging him. He's been really enthusiastic all week. Kageyama goes pink and bites onto the spigot of his bottle. He stoically does not look at Saito, even when Saito glances over, catching Tadashi's eye, and waves. Tadashi quickly waves back. Saito is the notable exception among the pitiful crop of first years. He's decently talented, plenty ambitious, and irksome enough to offset those qualities. But as a setter, he's effectively out of the running for the first year's starting lineup. Apparently, Saito had chosen Karasuno specifically to train with Kageyama and Ukai, though that felt like an afterthought even when he'd boldly announced these facts in his team introduction. Kei still laments the fact that he hadn't filmed Kageyama's stiff, tomato-faced reaction to that. Saito's fine, Kageyama says eventually. Kei raises an eyebrow. Now, isn't that high praise from the king? It's just weird, Kageyama says, mouth tugging into an uncomfortable slash. Teaching him, it sort of makes me feel like Oikawa. What? 'Cause he looks up to you? Like you looked up to Oikawa? Tadashi asks. I did not look up to Oikawa. Kageyama snaps, then grimaces. I just respected his skills, and I don't know. Saito always acts like he's trying to memorize every single thing I say, and it's weird. Were you like that? I don't know. Kageyama says again, allows, maybe. My, you're becoming self-aware, Kei drawls. But Hinata looks up to you too, Tadashi says. Why doesn't that freak you out? Kageyama scowls at both of them. Hinata would be impressed by a rock. Kei laughs because that's true. He's seen it more than once. Well, Hinata's not afraid to tell you that you suck. Maybe that's the difference. Want me to call him over? Sounds like you need someone to remind you. Kageyama shifts into a signature glare. You just did, and I don't suck. It's different if I say it, Kei says dismissively. I don't look up to you. I don't want you to. Couldn't if I tried, King. Really, though? Tadashi cuts in before they can bicker in earnest. Both Saito-kun and Moto-kun can act really starstruck sometimes. I hope Inoshida can get it into their heads that we're not, like, that good. We are that good, Kageyama says blankly. Not that it's worth getting starstruck over, but are you sure about that? The team's a mess. Kei says he's tired all over again just saying it. He can already hear Tadashi clicking his tongue at him for complaining. The second and third years are good, Kageyama insists. Yeah, but we're still learning too. Tadashi scoots around Kei's splayed legs to aim a kick at Kageyama's foot. At least some of us are. Kageyama shifts away, but his face is pensive. Still tucked downwards in a glare, but one of his considering ones. Before meeting Kageyama, Kei had never known, or cared, about the range of emotions one could communicate through glares, scowls, and grunts. Now he can decipher all too many. Tadashi folds his knees up, dropping his chin on them. Hey, do you think that when we're third years, we'll be like Daichi, Suga, and Asahi were to us last year? Like what? Kageyama asks. You know, they seemed so experienced. Like the 2 years between us made a difference that was bigger than that. I never thought they were that impressive, Kei mutters, even though it's a lie. But they were, Tadashi protests. Right from the start, they were so good. And they knew how everything worked and were ready to work to change what people called us and make it to nationals. And they only got better all year. And now they're gone. Why are you talking about them like they're dead? Kei drones. They graduated, so they might as well be. Kageyama's nodding like he's never heard someone make so much sense. Kei can't help but roll his eyes. Yamaguchi, if you were impressed by Azumane acting like a wet cat at the start of the year, you need to have your head checked. Tadashi snorts. Okay, fine. So maybe they weren't always impressive, and maybe you didn't look up to them, but the rest of us did. Kageyama hums long and low. Maybe we're already kind of like that. You think? Tadashi asks. Maybe, Kageyama says. On the court, Hinata calls, "One more set, Naya-senpai!" And, "Okay, Moto-kun, watch this. It goes like zip to hit it, and then you gotta really be like zwoom. It's super cool, and if you pay attention, you'll definitely get it." He calls that teaching, Kei mutters. Kageyama barks a laugh of agreement. Zwoom, Tadashi agrees gravely. Kei presses his mouth into a line, resisting the urge to smile as he watches Hinata's arm pinwheeling through motions. Hinata makes another sound effect, this time something going swoosh. He is, as always, incredibly uninformative. And here, multiple words come to mind, but the one Kei lands on is endearing. If one were inclined to think that stupidity was endearing, which Kei isn't. Okay, Yamamoto says nervously. What did I do wrong? Just watch, Hinata urges, backing up for his approach. I'm watching, Kei thinks, regardless of who Hinata's talking to. Unfortunately, Kei's always watching, especially when he tries not to. He blames Hinata. It's hard not to look at things that are so loud. Nishinoya sets with a jump over the attack line. It's nothing like Kageyama's creepy accuracy, but it's solid. Suga would be proud. Even after the third years retired, Suga had drilled tosses with Nishinoya and Kageyama on weekends between cram sessions. He claimed it made it easier to focus when he got back in his seat, which, at this point, Kei's seen the exact thing work on Hinata, so he's inclined to believe it. Hinata's palm connects with the ball. It slams to the other side of the court with a resounding crack. That's followed by a whoop from Nishinoya and the thump of Hinata's sneakers hitting the ground. Tadashi claps, Kageyama nods his approval. Kei reminds his rebellious mouth that it's not allowed to do anything. Hinata's eyes snap to the three of them on the sidelines. His grin encompasses all of them at first, but when he bounces on his toes, he yells only to Kei. Suki, did you see that? I bet that one would have gotten past you. Don't bet against me, Kei calls back, like his heart didn't just climb into his mouth when Hinata grinned at him, like his fingertips aren't sparking with his quickened pulse. You'll lose.
1,000 yen says I can beat your block at least once by the end of camp.
Easy money. Kei snorts.
2,000!
Confident, aren't you?
You're on, Tsukishima.
You know I didn't actually agree to this, right? Hinata laughs, sudden and ugly, but in a way that makes Kei's chest lurch. Like he should laugh too. He doesn't. He rolls his eyes. Quit slacking, Hinata.
You quit slacking!
Hinata hollers. He points 2 fingers at his eyes and swings them at Kei, then sweeps the gesture to encompass Tadashi and Kageyama too.
I'm watching you, all of you jerks!
Kei rolls his eyes harder. A second time, Hinata laughs, but now it carries him away.
Okay, see what I did, Moto-kun? When it comes to spiking a toss like that, you time your jump so that when the parabola of the arc...
Kei drops his chin into his palm. Hinata is good with the first years. They like him, even if most of his explanations go like this. Primarily drama with only the occasional insight or actionable piece of advice. Even now, though, Yamamoto is hanging on every word. Of their first years, Yamamoto is particularly green. His experience prior to now amounts to a handful of casual games played with neighbors, and in middle school, he played tennis. Tennis. Kei has spent no small amount of energy keeping out of his way, letting someone else, Hinata mostly, explain rules so basically they should be obvious to a small child. But Hinata likes doing it. He makes himself approachable to players like Yamamoto. It's not that hard when he's compared to Kageyama, Tanaka, or Kei himself, lacking a good 6 inches and the only one smiling. Where most underclassmen would gravitate is obvious. But Kei's looking forward to when Hinata inevitably proves his own brand of wild intensity during the Kesanaiki match. There's been a few scrimmages with other schools already, and Ukai's now traditional match with the Neighborhood Association, but Kesanaiki will be different. It'll be the first match of the year in uniform. Kei is actually looking forward to it. Kageyama's gaze burns into the side of Kei's face. He abruptly realizes he failed to not smile while looking at Hinata, for who knows how long. He thumbs it off his face and manages a scowl. What? Kageyama squints like he wants to say something, processing the way he does when he started to finally grasp the pre-calc Kei has been lecturing for the last 40 minutes. Was that banter? He asks. Do you and Hinata banter? Kei groans. We do not.
No.
Tadashi splutters, smothering a giggle with his hand.
Kageyama's right. Last year, an exchange like that would have been met with true Tsukishima vitriol. But you were joking with Hinata.
Kageyama nods sagely, pointing at Tadashi. See, that was bantering. It's harder to deny than Kei would like. So? He grunts. It's interesting, Kageyama says.
I think you've made more friends in the last year than you have since we met,
Tadashi adds. Kei pulls his sports glasses off and lets them fall against his chest. Dried sweat has been itching the bridge of his nose, and he rubs at it, watching the smudge of colors that are Hinata, Nishinoya, and Yamamoto on the court as Hinata encourages Yamamoto to try another spike. Friends, huh? Not like he hasn't called Hinata his friend before, but... Yeah, he allows. I probably have. Time passes. The day winds itself down into a late, aching hour. The air has cooled since sunset, and the breeze that slips in through the propped window is a relief on Kei's skin. The last vestiges of gym noise follow it in. The stragglers, Hinata and his volleyball victims, as always, are finally cleaning up, having returned to the court after dinner for Hinata's signature one last round. They are given away by squeaking shoes, thumping doors, and the voices that are finally at a volume below shouting. Distance dampens the sound to fragmented hitches, further drowned by the running water, until Kei heaves the sink knobs shut. The suds on his elbow itch. "The team eats too much," Kageyama grumbles. "We wouldn't have this many dishes if you and Hinata hadn't raced through 3 portions each. You're both disgusting." Kei says, "You eat like a bird." "I listen to my body's needs. That's not an insult." Kageyama mutters back, but Kei ignores him. They'd worked mostly in silence, a mutual agreement to get this task over with as quickly as possible. Kageyama had obviously begrudged the responsibility for keeping him from free practice, as if he needs to run more pinpoint accuracy tossing drills. But Kei hadn't minded the excuse to wave off Tadashi's hopeful, yet somehow challenging, stare for the first time this week. Kageyama folds up his dish rag, staring into it like he's searching for something. Kei's relatively recent ability to decipher Kageyama is still unsettling. It's useful on the court, but less so off of it, where Kei desperately wants to stay out of whatever's going on in Kageyama's thick skull unless it's dire, which is never. Case in point, 2 weeks ago, when Kageyama had pulled a particularly egregious face, Hinata had needled him until he divulged the topic. It was whether or not the new jam he'd bought was too sweet for toast. Hinata had then roped the entire group into a pointless debate that cost them the entire lunch period. Kei does not want to spend the rest of dish duty enduring an encore. To discourage any type of sharing, he drops a handful of utensils onto the counter. "Try these." Kageyama picks up the cluster of chopsticks only to put them back down. He looks at Kei with that introspective face on, eyebrows tilting down and mouth almost grimacing. "Don't you dare," Kei warns. "I think Hinata likes you," Kageyama says. Kei's drawn short. "What?" Of course Hinata likes him. They're friends, sort of. Not in the same way Kei and Kageyama are friends, sort of, but it still counts, because Kei's only other friends are Tadashi and maybe Akateru if he's feeling generous. "I think..." "Don't say it again," Kei snaps. "Just, obviously, he likes everyone." "No, I mean he likes you," Kageyama says, his tone bending haughtily. It's undercut by a squeal of metal as he forces the utensils drawer open. "Okay, like..." Kageyama's face distorts in distaste. "Romantically." Kei snorts and promises himself that his heart isn't thumping twice as fast as it should. "Romantic? Did he tell you that?" "He didn't have to," Kageyama says. "I know him. Unfortunately." Kageyama agrees. Kei huffs. "So it's just conjecture. Why are you telling me?" At this, Kageyama finally pauses, blinks, looks away from Kei just to look back at him sideways. "Don't you like him too?" he asks. And isn't that the question? No? Kei can feel his face starting to blaze. He hunches his shoulders around his ears and then leans further over the sink, twisting the water knob open again. Kageyama's eyes are too sharp. "Liar. Tyrant." Kei bites back. The barb doesn't faze Kageyama much these days, but he does scrunch up into a glare on instinct. "Why the hell would I make this up?" "Why the hell would you think about it in the first place?" Kei mutters. "It's basically impossible not to, Tsukishima. You're both really obvious about it. If even I can tell, it's kind of embarrassing." This conversation needs to end. Kei heaves the wok up from the deep sink, water sloshes up with it, and Kei decides he doesn't care. "Finish the chopsticks and dry this off, unless that's beneath you, your majesty." Kageyama's face stays scrunched, even as he pulls the wok over and gives it a half-hearted swipe with his rag. He ignores the chopsticks.
I know Hinata, he says slowly, and I know you too, Tsukishima. And I'm saying, I'm pretty sure you like him back. Am I right?
So much for ending Kei's mortification. He grits his teeth and hedges sharply.
I don't like anybody. Yamaguchi,
I'm obligated to like him by mutual history.
Well, I'm just saying.
Saying what, Kageyama? Kei cuts him off again, irritation flashing hot and intense in the uncomfortably thin air, failing to fill his lungs. Hot water is spraying onto his forearms, so he viciously shuts the knob again. You have zero social intelligence. Since when do you care about petty shit like who likes who?
Since I know you both,
Kageyama insists, volume instantly rising to match Kei's.
I'm used to how you both usually are. You've been different.
Because of some teasing, I'm allowed to have a sense of humor.
No, because you're always looking at him, and he's always looking at you.
I am not always looking at him. Kei lies through his teeth. He shoves away the traitor's creature at the back of his mind that hisses, "Wait, is Hinata always looking at me?"
You are. I see it all the time.
Kageyama groans.
Why are you being so difficult?
Kei splutters. He doesn't like how caught out he is by the king of obliviousness of all people. He's loud. He makes everyone look at him.
Well, you look at him when he's not being loud too, so it's not that.
How often are you watching me, Kageyama?
I could report you for stalking.
Kageyama tosses his hands in the air.
I watch you a normal amount. You watch Hinata an abnormal amount.
Surely Kei's not that bad. Problem, Kei is that bad. Horror is sinking deep into Kei's joints, cold and paralyzing. He doesn't want to talk about this. He doesn't know why Kageyama does. What's your point, asshole? He snaps. Kageyama is drawn up short for a moment, but he barrels on, nostrils flaring.
Don't have one. That's it. I said it. Hinata likes you.
You think? Kageyama's exhale is somewhere between a sigh and a groan.
I think.
He relents.
Because he looks at me. Because he's always, giggling about you.
Kageyama scrunches up his nose. Giggling? Kei echoes in morbid curiosity. About me?
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I'll believe it when I see it, Kei says.
How can you not, Tsukishima? He flirts with you constantly.
Do you even know what flirting is, Kageyama?
He calls you Suki, and you let him.
I don't. The denial dies behind Kei's teeth.
I can't tell him off every time. He does it too often. That's not flirting. I'm just telling you what I've been seeing for a while now.
Kageyama says.
I only put it all together today, but it's been like this since...
Kei is not holding his breath.
Maybe since I got back from All Japan.
Kageyama says. Since Hinata snuck into the Miyagi freshman camp then. Kei turns back to the sink and for the first time wishes there were more dishes to scrub. Instead, he pulls the drain plug and watches the soapy water swirl. Hinata didn't have time to like anybody then. We were training for nationals.
Maybe it started before that. I don't know. Don't you care?
Kei's blood is rushing in his ears with how much he cares. Kageyama just peers at him, waiting for an answer. A muscle jumps in Kei's jaw. No, unless he tells me himself. No. Kageyama finally gathers the chopsticks off the counter and drops them on a damp rag unenthusiastically.
What do you think you'd do if he did?
I don't fucking know. Say thank you? Kageyama scoffs, gives Kei a look like he's stupid.
That's not what you say to a confession.
Oh, because you'd know, King. Accepted any confessions lately?
It's just common sense.
I'm shocked you have any, Kei drawls.
Don't faint or anything.
Kageyama grumbles.
I'm being serious.
So am I. Why the hell are we talking about this? Kageyama just looks at him.
Would you accept it?
I don't like him. Kageyama rolls his eyes.
Of course you don't.
And something in Kei cracks just a little. Because maybe Hinata is cute. Maybe his stupid phonetics are endearing. Maybe he does let Hinata call him Suki, and maybe they do flirt a little. Maybe Kei has known these things all along. In all honesty, he's imagined it before. Hinata confessing to him, the image of it like a stone in a river already worn smooth from the time it's spent rolling. He has the ideas tucked away in secret, imagined little snapshots of Hinata's flushed face, his tongue poking out nervously, the quick dart of his eyes from beneath his lashes, the way he'd tried to grin through it all, to bluff more confidence than he really has, as he says. Kei wishes he'd never thought about it before. But if, Hinata confessed, if something remotely like that ever happened, which it wouldn't, what would Kei do? The wok rattles across the counter. Kageyama finally pets down the chopsticks. He's trying not to watch Kei as he waits for a response, but he's doing a lousy job. Kei rinses a few plates that don't really need it and slots them into the last free rungs of the drying rack. Eventually, he says,
I don't know what I'd do.
His thoughts never go that far. They stay where it's marginally safer, the tantalizing precipice of just before. As if any of it is safe at all.
Me neither,
Kageyama says.
He's not going to confess to you,
Kei snaps, and hates how defensive he sounds when Kageyama levels him with a truly unimpressed expression.
If I were in your shoes,
Kageyama says,
anything you could do would risk everything.
Everything. Their sort of friendship, bickering that is only sometimes flirting, lunchtime debates that Kei tries to ignore with his headphones, studying when exams come around, sometimes at Sakanoshita, sometimes in Kei's kitchen, the occasional traded CD, Tadashi's movie nights, the ones he started to make sure Yachi felt like part of the team, that Kei only keeps attending so he can choose the seat next to Hinata on a carefully considered every other time basis. That one trip to the pool last summer, that was just Kei and Hinata for some inexplicable reason. They'd eaten popsicles that dyed their mouth red. Kei knew because Hinata had stuck out his tongue and he'd accidentally memorized the site. The court, most of all. Their duality, the ever easier way they work in tandem, two parts of a foundation only halfway rebuilt. Even the tumbled rocks in Kei's head, all of it hangs in the balance. Kei forces thin air out of his lungs.
Yeah, Hinata probably knows that better than anyone,
Kageyama says. His voice is soft and understanding in a way that makes Kei grit his teeth.
Yeah,
he repeats.
He's physically incapable of doing something risky to volleyball, I think. He isn't capable of thinking about anything else.
Kei doesn't bother to call him a hypocrite, just implies it with a short snicker. Kageyama snaps his arm with the damp towel, and Kei flicks soap suds at him in return. It devolves into a brief scuffle that ends as quickly as it starts when Kei shoves Kageyama into the counter where he jams his elbow and goes down.
Fuck you,
Kageyama gripes, cradling his arm.
No thanks.
Kei strips his dish gloves and slumps down beside him. The kitchen is quiet, but for the whirring of the fridge and the dripping water off the drying rack. Wind whistles in through the cracked window. No more voices float in. Hinata liking Kei. Liking him back. Ha! Eventually, Kageyama shakes out his arms.
Can I ask you something, Tsukishima?
No. Kageyama doesn't miss a beat.
Why do you like Hinata?
Kageyama watches him. A blush prickles at Kei's neck and ears. He averts his gaze.
That's a stupid question.
Despite the gloves, his fingers have pruned. He rolls his damp, ridged fingertips over his kneecaps and finds himself unable to say it's a stupid question because he doesn't like Hinata. Because he does. It's a stupid question because he does. Kageyama seems to catch on if his arched brows are any indication. Kei groans, resigning himself to having this conversation once and for all.
I don't know. I just do. He's easy to like. Never thought I'd see the day you found someone easy to like. Few people are likable. Hinata is one of them. That's it. And me?
Kageyama asks, straightforward.
Tolerable.
Kei deadpans.
Barely.
Kageyama nods.
You're tolerable too. Against my best efforts.
Beside him, Kageyama laughs a little, but then it's quiet, which Kei can work with. He can pretend he's talking to thin air. He can pretend he's not talking at all.
Hinata is passionate,
he says.
When he deems something important. Volleyball, the team, his sister, One Piece. That's a factual observation,
Kageyama says. So much for talking to himself.
And it's part of it. It's just Hinata. He just pushes my buttons.
Kei mutters haltingly.
He's unrelentingly optimistic and irredeemably stupid. You sound like you still hate him,
Kageyama says.
Do a better job of having a crush.
Kei shudders.
Don't call it that. A crush? But it is, isn't it? That makes it sound so childish.
Kei groans.
It doesn't need to be called anything. It just is. Because...
Kei hates being goaded. Hates the way Kageyama's shoving him on this. Because he knows he can. Knows Kei will begrudgingly let himself be dragged along. Because Kageyama thinks he knows best, and, infuriatingly, on the court, a lot of the time he does. Sometimes Kei feels things like they were better when he was good at passively letting life wash him by.
Because he's genuine when he's being stupidly optimistic.
Kei grits out.
That's pretty rare to find, and I think it's perplexing. It's different. But it's magnetic. And when he's competitive, somehow it makes me... I can't just stand by. I don't know. He has such high standards, and it makes me want to live up to them.
Kageyama hums.
I can see that. What else?
What else? Like Kei really doesn't have anything better to think about. He groans. Articulating anything positive about Hinata feels wrong. Like a squirming personal betrayal in the pit of his stomach. But he's both the backstabbed and wielder of the knife, all at once. Facts. Nothing more. As long as he tells himself that, he can put the words out there.
He's funny, sort of. Not when he tries to tell jokes, though. He's fun to banter with. It's hard to faze him. On top of that, he's always trying to understand something or another, and doesn't quit until he gets it. And then he still doesn't quit.
Kageyama huffs.
And he's cute.
Kageyama grimaces around the words, finishing lamely. Cute is more of an objective fact than attractive, even though Hinata is. Kei's spent enough time looking at him during practice, and at lunch over his bento, and during movie nights in the flickering colors from the screen, and that one time at the pool, and the way he'd stretched in the water, to admit that, but only to himself. Kageyama makes a gagging noise.
Okay, that's enough. You brought it up, Kei snaps. I still don't know why, when nothing's going to come of it.
Kageyama shrugs, stiff shoulders biting into the cabinet at their backs.
None of us ever want to talk about these things, so I just thought... Thought what exactly? Care to enlighten me, your majesty? Just that it would be nice for it to be acknowledged.
Warmth coils in Kei's stomach. Kageyama wouldn't have been his first choice, but Kageyama had been the one to spare him the mortification of bringing it up, of admitting it in so many words. I like Hinata. I like him so much that it's painful sometimes.
Well, then listen up, 'cause I'm only saying this once.
Kei doesn't wait for Kageyama to look at him, just stares straight ahead, drawers and shelves and the window pane above the counter propped open with a piece of wood, an inky slot of darkness connecting their bubble to the outside world.
Thanks.
Kageyama's gaze itches at Kei's face for a long moment before peeling away.
Don't thank me, Tsukishima, he says. It sounds weird.
Time passes. Takeda pokes his head in around the time they're tying up the trash. He says they can head to the baths when they're done because the other second years are already there.
What of anyway?
Kei mutters as they haul the bags out. Kageyama only grunts. Despite the heads up, the baths are empty when they arrive, but they don't stay that way. The third years clamor inside within 5 minutes. Apparently, a bet had somehow transpired, resulting in the third years and the first years switching bathing orders. Kei slips out as quickly as he can. Tanaka and Nishinoya in a tiled room is a surefire recipe for a headache. He makes it back to the dorm room and picks his way through the arrayed futons. It's dim and peaceful, only half the lights still on, and quiet. Most of the beds are still empty. His spot against the wall, a preferred position because it minimizes the number of people who try to step over him during the night and inevitably step on him instead. On the first day of camp, Tadashi and Hinata conspired to stake a claim on the furthest corner, running ahead while the rest of the team meandered in the dorm, still primarily half asleep. When Kei and Kageyama had arrived to drop off their bags, their bedrolls had already been put out. Ta-da! Hinata had presented their sleeping arrangements with a flourish. Designed for maximum privacy, configured to minimize grumpiness. It's the Golden Week Training Camp Sleepover 2.0 Deluxe Edition.
What?
Kei said. Suki and Kageyama are by the wall, with me and Hinata on the edges to act as a buffer, Tadashi explained, almost as enthusiastic as Hinata. And, back here, we're next to fewer people overall.
Oh, nice,
Kageyama said, dropping off his bag beside Hinata's.
But what makes it deluxe?
Shh. Yama, it just is.
Kei had considered dragging his futon away from the group, just to be a contrarian. But then, Hinata had turned to him, his face full of hope and anticipation, and all Kei managed was a small
thanks.
So here he is. He falls back on his futon with a sigh. He's tired. Every muscle aches from constant use. The ones that contract between his shoulder blades, the thin strips up his shins, the inner curves of his biceps, his abs, they're all clamoring for attention. His headphones are by his shoulder. He thinks very hard about exerting the effort necessary to plug them in, put them on, and start up his recent playlist. He settles for imagining he's already done it. If he doesn't move, maybe he can fall asleep before the room fills up much more. One of the first years, Ishii, is already snoring with an arm slung over his eyes. Beside him, Iguchi is tapping away at his phone, occasionally laughing. The rest, Saito, Yamamoto, and Kase, were fooling around by the vending machine down the hall, last Kei saw. Tadashi's nowhere in sight, so that means he's probably hanging out with Yachi again tonight, at least until Takeda calls final warning on lights out. And the third years are still in the baths, heckling Kageyama, Kei hopes. He deserves it. That leaves one person with whereabouts unknown. One person he pointedly does not want to dwell on right now. Shitty, arrogant king, thinking he knows what's best. Stupid, likable Hinata, grinning at him with that earnest expression during practice, and Kei cuts himself off, clears his mental cache, tries to drag his unwieldy mind to other things. There's a new album coming out next week by a band he follows pretty closely. He still needs to call the record shop and pre-order a disc for his collection. He'll have to do it tomorrow during lunch, or else he might have to wait for the restock.
Have fun with cleanup duty?
Kei peels his eyes open. He hadn't heard Hinata approach. His feet are bare, his sleep shirt is a size too big, hanging off his shoulders in a gentle curve, and his hair is damp. It's a shade darker like that, almost auburn. It sweeps in perfect little curls around his earlobes. He looks soft and warm, heavy-lidded for once. Kei's heart squeezes a jittering rhythm. He cannot be looking at Hinata's earlobes.
Fun with Kageyama? Never.
Kei deadpans.
You guys took forever,
Hinata says. He kneels on his futon and musses around with his blankets. To what end, Kei has no idea. The collar of his too big sleep shirt gapes around his collarbones. Kei does not look.
We took a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, for snails.
We were the only group of 2.
If it had been me and Kageyama, we would have been out of there in no time, Hinata says.
You would have made it into a race or something.
Yeah, and it's fun. Also, in this context, useful.
Define useful.
Having usefulness.
Kei snorts.
What? Hinata whines. It's too late for vocabulary quizzes.
You should be able to define useful at any time of the day.
Kei shuffles around for his phone and squints at it once he finds it.
It's only 9:30.
We got up at 5.
You got up at 5.
Kei corrects.
Because you're insane.
Hinata wrinkles his nose.
That's just what I'm used to.
He's not cute, Kei reminds himself. He's not cute or anything else at all. The way his heart lurches says otherwise. Hinata collapses with a sigh, half on top of his messy blankets. Over the edge of Kei's glasses, Hinata's damp hair is a smear, reddish-orange, where the moonlight hits it. He wonders if he's getting the pillow wet.
Your blocks were really good today,
Hinata murmurs. Something warm and fluttery lodges itself in Kei's stomach. He laces his fingers over it and wills it away. Affecting a confidence he doesn't really believe, he says,
They're always good.
I know.
Hinata sighs again, something between frustration and admiration. He hates the way Hinata's compliments feel different from anybody else's, that Hinata has that power over him without even trying. Hinata shifts, maybe looking at him, waiting. Kei's gaze is pulled over like a dutiful magnet. There are words heavy on his tongue. He works spit around his mouth, trying to dislodge them. Hinata likes you, Kageyama's voice says in the back of his mind. He jerks his eyes back to the ceiling.
Well?
Hinata says.
Well, what?
Kei says.
Aren't you going to tell me my blocks were good today?
No.
Why not?
It'd be a lie.
Hinata gasps. It's a playful type of affronted, and he clutches his pillow tighter.
Jerk! My blocks were great!
Kei hums.
Were they?
They were!
They'd done a round of 2-on-2 sets before dinner, after another endless hour of drilling serves and receives, hardly any time to really show off blocks.
You only stuffed Tanaka twice,
Kei says.
Hey, once is luck, but twice is a pattern,
Hinata protests.
Uh-huh. Where'd you learn that?
Math class? It doesn't matter. I've got a ton of deflections.
Pure chance.
Ugh, not true. And his line shots are just too good. But I'm going to get the next one for sure.
Hinata goes on to retell one of his best plays from the set. Kei lets him get through most of it before cutting him off.
I was there, unless you forgot, he says. And you don't have to tell me. It's obvious you've been practicing a lot.
Yeah, I know you were there because you were there, Hinata says. And that doesn't count as a compliment. I already know.
So is the definition of a compliment now that it has to be news to you?
Kay laughs, small but real.
Sorry, I didn't ask you before, dictionary-san.
No, I just want to know what you really think.
Kay doesn't dare look directly at whatever expression Hinata is making. The tone of voice is enough. It's light. Not quite the same tone he uses when they snipe at each other around the team, but still one Kay knows. An electric shiver dances down his spine.
Fishing for compliments isn't a good look,
he says.
It's fine if it works. Come on.
Kay groans, mostly for show. The fact remains that he's complimented Hinata enough today, even if it wasn't to his face.
Say something nice,
Hinata urges, teasing.
I know it's difficult for you, but you can do it.
What would he even say? They're talking about volleyball, so it wouldn't be a non sequitur to mention his improved receiving or the way his court sense has been growing in leaps and bounds ever since he started putting his brain to use. But it's not like his receives are particularly good, just better, which isn't saying much. It's still more reassuring to have Nishinoya on the court. But it's different when Hinata is there, backing him up. Kay feels different, just a little. And mid-match, he likes when he vehemently thinks, you'd better pick that up, and Hinata does. As if he'd heard. He likes how their eyes always catch after a play like that. The fact that Hinata always calls to him for emergency sets. The lightning pulse of their gazes locking for an instant. He can imagine the words, but he can't imagine saying them. That he wants Hinata on the court with him. Hinata would understand the kind of compliment that it is. Part of him wants to articulate it. The rest of him desperately doesn't. In the end, all he says is,
your timing is getting more accurate.
There's a pause. He turns his head to get a better look at Hinata and catches a full grin. Just for him. Sleepier than his usual fare, but unfailingly direct. Something in his eyes feels like it's holding a flame to Kay, to the knot in his throat.
Well, you're a good teacher, Suki,
Hinata says. And the back of Kay's neck prickles, flushing. He's glad Hinata can't see it.
You got your compliment,
he mumbles.
Happy?
Yes.
Kageyama was probably right about Hinata liking him. The idea makes Kay's stomach squirm. He thinks of the words glued to the roof of his mouth and fails to work them loose.
And don't call me that,
he mutters, belated.
Okay, Suki, I won't.
Hinata giggles. Kay hums vaguely and shifts his eyes to the ceiling, banked in dim shadows from the one light that's still on. He said he'd see it when he believed it. He supposes he's seen it. He supposes he's been seeing it. Eventually, Tadashi and Kageyama show up. The first years pile in with their snacks and then crowd back out to brush their teeth, waking Ishii in the process. The third years make it back from the baths, much more sedated than when they were going in. Takeda and Ukai come by to tell them to go to sleep. For as long as he can, Kay ignores the murmured conversation around him, the team settling down until the room goes dark of even phone screens.
Good night, Yama, Hinata mumbles. Good night, Dashi.
Good night. Tadashi yawns. Kageyama responds with incoherent mumbles, half asleep already. He's out like a light. Tadashi turns over. His exhale is deep, relaxed, falling asleep too. Hinata rolls onto his stomach. This time, Kay can't resist the urge to look back. Even in the dark, even without his glasses on, his eyes find Hinata's peeking over the curve of his pillow. The low light has robbed Hinata of most of his colors, but Kay likes him like this. edges blurred, soft. His expression is happy, open, unguarded. Kei's breath catches, stutters. He holds it all in.
Good night, Suki,
Hinata whispers. Smooth stones clattering gently over each other as they roll. Night, Kei rasps. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining me for chapter 1 of this fic. This fic, oh my gosh, it's like so long for like only being 36,000 words. I know, like only 36,000 words, but like, oh my goodness, it feels so long. So these chapters are probably going to be around an hour a piece. So just a heads up for that. I hope that you guys liked it. I know you guys don't get a lot of Tsukihina on this channel because honestly, there's not a lot of Tsukihina out there that is really good, because it's a more rare pair. But I just love them, and I know I've said it before, they kind of give off that, like, Kiribaku vibe to me, even before I realized that that's the vibe they were giving off. I liked Tsukihina. So I hope that maybe they will grow on you all a little bit as well. And I hope that you come back and join me for another video, preferably the next one in this series. And if you do come back and join me for another, then I'll see you next time.